Isang mapagpalang araw sa ating lahat. Muli ako inyong lingkod, Sir Jolan M. Sereño at welcome sa ating math tutorial. For today's tutorial, ang ating topic is about plane coordinate geometry focusing on the midpoint formula. So kung napanood niyo yung una kong video about plane coordinate geometry, so una natin discuss doon is yung distance formula. So in this video, midpoint formula naman tayo. So again, in the plane coordinate geometry, marami itong mga subtopics. So isa-isayin natin siya para mas maintindihan natin kung paano ba ina-apply itong mga to in proving geometric figures in plane coordinate geometry. Okay? So kung ready na kayo, simulan na natin to. Okay, so for our learning objectives, after going through this lesson, you're expected to determine the coordinates of the midpoint of a line segment on a coordinate plane using the midpoint formula. And find the other endpoint of a line segment when the endpoint and one endpoint are given. So here, given the midpoint and then the other endpoint. So what will be the coordinates of the other point in the line segment? So yun yung ating magiging focus sa lesson na ito. Okay? So simulan na natin siya. So by our concept for today, so what is a midpoint formula? So by definition, it is a formula that can be used to find the coordinates of the midpoint of a line segment on the coordinate plane. So in the midpoint formula, we still use the coordinates, the abscissa and the ordinate. So we have here point P with the coordinates x sub 1, y sub 1, and then you have point Q, x sub 2, and then y sub 2. So the formula would be this. So ito yung ating magiging formula ngayon. Okay, ayan. So that is the quantity x sub 1 plus x sub 2 all over 2, and you have y sub 1 plus y sub 2 all over 2. So kung mapapansin niyo, naka-ordered pair siya kasi nga hinahanap natin yung coordinates ng ating midpoint, no? Saan ba nakalocate ang midpoint in a line segment, no? Nasaan ba yung gitna? Saan ba siya malolocate? So kaya ang setup natin ngayon ay naka-ordered pair siya. So that's why naka-parenthesis ito, and then you have here for the values of x, and then dito naman is yung for the values of y o yung sa abscissa, and then dito yung ordinate natin. So doon lang yan iikot. So napakadali lang. You just get the average. No, ganun lang yan. You just add the values of x sub 1, x sub 2, and then you divide it by 2. So ganun din ang mangyayari para sa y. Okay, so for the abscissa, so ganun din, you just add y sub 1, y sub 2, and then you divide it by 2. So that's how we're going to use yung ating midpoint formula. Okay, so let's try, okay, to solve some problems regarding midpoint formula. Let's have illustrative example number 1. So find the midpoint of M of a line segment whose endpoints are, we have here negative 3, 5, and then the other point is 6, 1. Okay, so what would be the midpoint of these 2 points? No, kapag na-locate mo na to sa Cartesian plane, itong 2 points na to, nasaan ba yung gitna niyan? No, yung halfway nila. Okay. So, by solution natin, you just follow these steps. Okay, so first step natin is to find what is x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, and y sub 2. So, again, napakahalaga na tama ang pagbibigay natin ng value nitong mga to. Okay, so again, saan ba nanggagaling ulit yung x sub 1, y sub 1? So, like what I said dun sa mga fast videos natin, yung previous videos natin about distance formula, sa video na yon tinuro natin na yung ating x sub 1, y sub 1 ay manggagaling sa ating first pair of points. So kung ano yung i-assign mong first pair mo, doon manggagaling si x sub 1 and y sub 1. Okay? And then sa second point mo, doon naman manggagaling yung ating x sub 2 and then yung ating y sub 2. Okay? So dito, ang ating first point is yung point A. So dito manggagaling si x sub 1 and then yung ating y sub 1. Okay? Now, so what will be the values of those variables. So ito na ngayon siya sa ating coordinates natin. Okay, so yung ating x sub 1 is negative 3. Okay. Ang ating y sub 1 is 5. Correct. Ang ating x sub 2 is 6. And then ang ating y sub 2 is 1. Okay, so once nalagay na natin yung mga value niya, so ready na tayo sa paggamit ng formula. So again, i-rewrite nyo lang ulit. So we use capital letter M, no, to denote the midpoint of a line segment. And then you have here, open and close parenthesis, x sub 1 plus x sub 2 all over 2. Then you have y sub 1, y sub 2 all over 2. Okay? And then, so, dahil alam na natin kung anong gagamitin nating formula dito, substitute na natin yung values sa ating formula. So, please take time sa pagsa-substitute. Kailangan ay accurate ito, no? Hindi natin pwedeng pagpalit-palitin yan. So, kailangan ay mailagay natin ng tama. May peso natin ng tama yung mga values niya. Okay? So, tingnan natin kung tamang pagkakapwesto natin ng mga values. Tingnan natin, ang x sub 1 ay negative 3. Tama. Okay, ang x sub 2 natin is 6, correct? And then ang ating y sub 1 is 5. And then ang ating y sub 2 is 1. Okay, and then divided by 2 sila. Okay, so yan. So, okay na. Tama na yung pagkakalagay natin. So, ang susunod na step natin dyan, syempre, you need to add the coordinates and divide by 2. Do the same for the y coordinates. So, isa-isa lang. Simulan natin sa x coordinates natin. Itong negative 3 plus 6 divided by 2, that is 3 over 2. And yung ating y coordinates, 5 plus 1, that is 6 divided by 2. So, we can simplify this. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Okay, so yan na. Nakuha na natin yung values natin for the x coordinates and then yung ating y coordinates. Therefore, we can now write the midpoint of the line segment AF, okay, which is 3, 2, and 3. So if you're going to ask for the coordinates of the midpoint, so you just simply write this. M is equal to, the open and close parenthesis, 3 over 2 and 3. Okay, so that's how we solve for the midpoints of a line, no? Of a line segments given their endpoints. Okay, so sana naintindihan yan. Okay, good. Okay, so let's proceed to our second example. Okay, for our illustrative example number 2, the midpoint of a line segment is 4, 7. If one endpoint is negative 6, 9, what is the other endpoint? So, again, ulitin natin. The midpoint of a line segment is 4, 7. Okay? If one endpoint is negative 6, 9, what is the other endpoint? So, ano papansin nyo dito? Sa problem na to, binigay ang ating midpoint. Sa diba ang topic natin is paano kunin ang midpoint? But again, we can have this kind of problem wherein titingnan natin kung paano natin i-manipulate yung ating formula, yung ating midpoint formula to solve this kind of problem. So kung i-check din nyo, try to imagine this. You have a line segment, binigay yung isang endpoint at yung midpoint, pero hindi ibinigay yung other endpoint. So yun yung ating problem ngayon. Paano ba natin malalaman yung coordinates ng other endpoint given the midpoint and the other endpoint? So, you have here, so tinis natin. So, ngayon naman, given si midpoint, hanapin natin yung other endpoints niya, yung coordinates niya, using the midpoint formula. So, sir, pwede ba yun? Kaya ba yun? Yes, kaya natin yun using the midpoint formula. So, kung ready na kayo, simulan na natin paano siya isosolve. Okay, so we're going to follow again the same procedure na ginawa natin sa example number 1. So I have here a table of na gagamitin natin para mag-guide kayo sa pagsagot ng ganitong klaseng problem. Okay, so ganun pa rin. Ang ating first step is to identify yung mga coordinates niya. Okay, so find x, y, x sub 1 and y sub 1. So kung mapapansin nyo, wala ditong x sub 2, y sub 2. Kasi nga, yun yung hanapin natin. Hanapin natin kung nasaan yung, kung ano yung coordinates to second point. Now, so sir, ano ngayon yung x and y? So, yung x and y, ito yung magiging value na gagamitin natin para sa ating midpoint. Okay, so for our midpoint, kasi given siya, gagamitin natin. So, ang magiging value ngayon nitong x and y ay manggagaling sa coordinates ng midpoint. Okay, so in that note, ang mangyayari, ang magiging value natin ng x is yung 4. Okay, so alam niyo naman yan, understood yan, yung first number natin sa ordered pair, automatic siya yung value ng x, at yung second number natin is yung para sa y. That's why here, meron tayong x is equal to 4, okay, and then y is equal to 7. And then, yung ating x sub 1, so dito siya manggagaling sa ating given coordinates ng isang endpoint, which is negative 6, and then you have positive 9. Okay, so again, sana wag malito doon ha. Gagamitin kasi natin yung value ng midpoint. Kaya ngayon, meron tayong another variable, yung x and y. Yun yung para sa coordinates ng midpoint. At ang hinahanap kasi natin dito, yung magiging value ng x sub 2 and y sub 2. Sana na-visualize nyo yung ating magiging setup dito. Okay? Next, so again, the midpoint formula. Gagamitin natin yun. Magagamit natin siya dito. Okay, so again, but this time, ayan, papansinin nyo, so usually gumagamit tayo ng m para sa midpoint, no? Ayan, kasi yun ang hinahanap natin. But in this case, dahil siya ay given na, so ibibigay natin yung ordered pair niya. So that's why lalagay natin dito yung x and y. Okay? Next, so substitute the value. So, papalitan na natin siya. So, ngayon, ang midpoint natin ay merong coordinates na 4, 7. So, lalagay natin yung 4, 7 is equal to, you have here negative 6. So, given siya, plus the x sub 2, that's unknown. So, lalagay lang natin siya dyan, divided by 2. And then, yung ating y coordinates, that is y plus the y sub 2 all over 2. Okay, so, makikita nyo na dyan na unknown talaga yung ating x sub 2 and y sub 2. So, yun yung ating goal dito. Makuha natin yung value niya. Okay? Next, so we're going to equate the coordinates and equate the x and y coordinates. So, paano ba yun sa re-equate namin? Paano ba yun? So, ganito lang siya. Ayan. So, dahil yung midpoint natin ay, ang coordinates niya ay galing sa average ng ating x and y coordinates, therefore, itong coordinates na yan, so again, ang laman yan ay yung x sub 1 and x sub 2. Therefore, yan ang gagamitin mo para na value equivalent ng ating coordinates ng midpoint. So that's why, i-equate mo siya sa 4. So what will happen, yung 4, i-equate mo sa x coordinates. So magkakaroon ngayon ng equation. 4 is equal to negative 6 plus x sub 2 all over 2. Okay? So, tingnan nyo ulit mabuti ha. In-equate natin yung ating x-coordinate doon sa ordered pair ng midpoint. So, in-equate natin ngayon yung ating x-coordinate sa 4. Kasi yun yung naging value ng x sa ating midpoint. At ganun din mangyayari sa y-coordinates. Okay, itong ating y plus, itong 9 plus y sub 2 all over 2 ay equate natin kay 7. Okay? Kaya magkakaroon ngayon tayo dito ng 7 is equal to 9 plus y sub 2 all over 2. So, yan yung ating equation. Okay? So, sana ay nasusundan yan. Okay? Next, solve for x sub 2 and y sub 2. So, sir, paano na namin to gagawin? So, dahil may equation naman tayo, masasolve natin siya. Okay? Kasi, ganun yung paraan para makapag-solve tayo ng mga variables. So, dito, kung papasin nyo sa ating equation na to, ang unknown natin dyan is x sub 2. So, we're solving for the value of x sub 2. So, paano ba yung gagawin, sir? So, pag ganito ang itsura niya, so, simply, ito lang gawin niyo class. 4, i-times mo sa 2. Okay? You just get the product. So, what will happen? 4 times 2 is 8. So, magkakaroon ka dyan ng 8. Okay? Gamitin natin to. Okay? So, here, you just write 8 here. Tapos, equals. Okay? Equals natin. So, dahil ito ay multiply natin yung 4 sa 2, equate na natin siya sa negative 6 plus the x sub 2. Ayan. And then, again, we're solving for the value of x sub 2. So, mas madali na i-transpose nyo lang itong negative 6 or you just get the additive inverse of negative 6 para mapunta dito. That is a positive 6. And then you just add. And then you have here 8 plus 6, that is 14, equals your x sub 2. Okay. Therefore, your x sub 2 is equal to 14. Okay? And then, sir, paano natin nakuha yung 5 para sa y sub 2? So, same procedure lang din yon. Okay, so barahin natin ito. Okay, same procedure lang din. Cross multiplication muna. So, i-multiply muna natin itong 7 sa 2. Okay, so that is 14. Okay, now is equal to, so we just copy 9 plus y sub 2. Okay, so y sub 2 natin, okay, ang hinahanap dito sa equation na to. So, like what I did dun sa kanina, sa x sub 2. So, you just get the additive inverse of 9, that is negative 9. So, mag-subtract lang tayo dito ng 9. Okay, so that is negative 9. Okay, para lang natin siya may transpose or mawala siya dito sa left side of the equation. So, what will happen, I just get the difference, 14 minus 9, that is correct, that is 5, is equal to y sub 2. So, therefore, the value of your y sub 2 here is 5. Okay, and sir, ano nang gagawin doon? Write the coordinates of the other endpoint. So we can now say that the other endpoint has a coordinates of 14 and 5. Diba? So nakuha natin yung coordinates ng other endpoint. Now, kung gusto nyo i-check kung tama yan, gamitin mo ulit yung Midpoint Formula using negative 6, 9 as your first point, and then yung other point mo is 14 and 5, and then use the Midpoint Formula, dapat ang magiging sagot ay 4, 7. 4 and 7 dapat na magiging coordinates ng midpoint. Kasi paikot-ikot lang naman yan dyan eh. Kasi silang naman yung mga involved na points dyan. Yung 2 endpoints, and syempre meron silang midpoint, no? Halfway between those points, yun yung ating tinatawag na midpoint. Okay, so I hope naintindihan yan at nakukuha nyo na kung ano yung mga possible na pwedeng maging problem natin in terms of getting the midpoints and the other coordinates between the given line segment. Okay, so very good. So next tayo. Okay, let's have illustrative example number 3. Okay, so dito sa number 3, okay, so medyo bibigatan na natin ito. So ang task natin ngayon for number 3 is to solve problems na. Ayan, so problem solving na. So tingnan natin paano ba ina-apply yung midpoint formula in a real life situation. Okay, so basahin muna natin yung problem na to. Okay, so Hannah and her friend Ryan would like to work on their math project. They decided to meet each other at a point halfway between their houses with coordinates negative 1460 and 2100 respectively. Should they meet in the park represented by the coordinates negative 870 or in the coffee shop represented by the coordinates negative 6 and 80? Justify your answer. So, yun yung ating problem dito. So, kung kailangan mo na maintindihan, again, pag problem solving, i-visualize mo muna yung scenario. Ano ba yung nandoon sa problem? So, dito, ang ating pag-uusapan dito is, ano ba dapat? Saan ba dapat sila magmi-meet up? Sa park ba? Or sa coffee shop? Okay? So dalawang lugar na yon, saan ba doon kailangan silang magkita para yung distance nila sa isa't isa ay parehas. Kumbaga magiging patas kasi we're meeting halfway, no? Yung distansya mo mula sa bahay ni Hannah at yung distansya mula sa bahay ni Ryan ay magiging parehas lang kapag nag-meet sila dun sa landmark na yon or dun sa point na yon. So may mga coordinates na nilagay kasi nga iplinasta natin ito sa Cartesian plane. So to be accurate, gumagamit tayo ng mga coordinates niyan. So ngayon, saan ba sila dapat magmi-meet? Sa coffee shop ba or sa park? Para ma-meet nila yung condition na they're going to meet each other. Okay? Ito ang kanilang napag-usapan. They decided to meet each other at a point halfway between their houses. So, yun yung napag-usapan nila. Kita tayo kung saan mag-meet tayo, no? Mag-meet silang dalawa, si Hannah and Ryan, sa lugar kung saan equal yung distance nila mula doon sa mga bahay nila. Okay? So ito ay usapang pagkuha ng midpoint para ma-justify natin, no? Pwede naman sabihin, sa park na lang tayo. Hindi, sa coffee shop. So, paano natin yung mapapatunayan na ito yung tamang lugar? Okay, so for this kind of problem, so gamitin natin syempre yung ating natutunan sa midpoint formula. Okay? So in this case, so ganun pa din, no, yung process natin. Ang importante lang is alam natin paano i-analyze yung problem. Okay? So ganun pa rin yung hanapin natin, find the value of x of 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, and y sub 2. Okay, kasi hinahanap natin yung midpoint eh. Okay, so we just substitute the value. So dito, wag nyo gagamitin ito ha. Hindi pa natin gagamitin itong negative 80, 70, tsaka to. So, hindi natin gagamitin. Ang gagamitin lang natin dito is yung coordinates nung kanilang bahay. No? Yung houses nila, saan ba nakalocate. So, doon lang tayo kukuha ng value. So, ito kasing coordinates na tong negative 870 at saka yung negative 6 and 8, yun yung coordinates ng landmark kung saan pagpipilian pa nila kung saan sila mag-meet. Okay? So, din lang tayo kukuha sa negative 1460 at saka dun sa 2 and 100. Okay, so again, kung this is our first point, kung ang ating first point is yung negative 1460, so nasa kanya si x sub 1 at saka si y sub 1. And then yung ating second point is yung 2 and 100, so nandoon si x sub 2 and y sub 2. So, ayan, na-substitute na natin siya dito. Okay? Next is you write the midpoint formula. So m is equal to the quantity x sub 1 plus x sub 2 all over 2. And then for the y coordinates, y sub 1 plus y sub 2 all over 2. Okay? And then substitute the values in the formula. Okay, so tingnan natin kung tama pagkakasubstitute. So ito yung dapat na maingat kayo ha. Baka kasi pwede magpagbaliktad natin x sub 1, x sub 2 kasi nasa isang coordinate sila. Pero wag yung x sa y. Okay? Kasi dito sa addition, okay lang naman yan eh. Okay? So, x sub 1 is 14, correct. X sub 2 is 2, correct. All over 2. And then, sa y natin is 60, correct. Yung ating y sub 2 is 100. Okay. So, kapag na-check na natin na tama yung pagka-substitute, so we add the x coordinates and divide by 2 and then do the same for the y coordinates. Okay? So, ayan. So, negative 14 plus 2, that is negative 12 divided by 2. So, we can simplify this. You just divide. This is equal to negative 6. And then the other one for the y coordinates, that is 60 plus 100, that is 160 divided by 2, that is 80. And then, write the midpoint. So, the midpoint now is negative 6 and 80. That will be the coordinates of the midpoint. Therefore, ano ang sagot natin? Tama. Ang sagot natin ay sa coffee shop. Sa coffee shop sila dapat mag-meet para ma-meet nila yung kanilang napag-usapan na they need to meet each other at a point halfway between their houses. So, therefore, ang kailangan mag-meet sila sa coffee shop at hindi sa park. O, di ba? So, napatunayan natin siya using the midpoint formula na dito kayo dapat ito dapat yung meet up ninyo. Kasi ito yung lugar kung saan mag-meet kayo halfway. Di ba? So, yun yung gamit ng midpoint. Kasi yung midpoint is, it divides the line segment into two equal parts. Di ba? So, yun yun. So, that's how we apply midpoint formula in solving real life problems. So, sana ay may natutunan kayo doon at na-realize niyo na, okay, pwede pala natin itong gamitin sa mga ganitong sitwasyon. Okay, so, that's it. So, ang ating final answer is negative 6 and 80. Therefore, ang meetup nila ay sa coffee shop. Okay, so very good. So, natapos na natin yung word problems involving the midpoint formula. Okay, for the assessment, so try this. Kung natutunan ninyo at mukhang ready na kayo, so pwede nyo na itong sagutan. Use the midpoint formula to solve the following. So our question number 1. So which of the following pair of points have a midpoint with a coordinate 0, 0? So alin ba sa dalawang ito ang midpoint, pag kinuha mo, no? Ang midpoint nila, ang coordinates ay 0, 0. Is it A, 1, 1, and negative 1, 0? Or is it B, negative 3, 0, and 3, 0? Okay, next question number 2. Find the midpoint between points with the coordinates 13.3 and negative 0.25 and negative 1.33 and 1.0. Hanapin nyo yung midpoint between these points. And then, next, question number 3. Given the endpoints 2, 8 and midpoint 4, 4, what is the other point? Ito yung example number 2 natin kanina. No? Given yung midpoint at yung other endpoint, hanapin mo pa yung isang endpoint niya. Okay? And then last is, ito na. So, word problems tayo. So, ganoon din like what we did doon sa problem between Hannah and Ryan. So, ganoon din yung magiging setup dito. No? So, ang tinatanong dyan, if a nipa hat is located exactly midway between Jose and the mountain, no, find the coordinates should represent the nipa hat's location. Okay, so, gagamitin nyo pa rin dito yung ating midpoint formula. So, again, sa worded problems, sa mga word problems natin, intindihin nyo munang mabuti yung problem, i-analyze nyo muna bago nyo siya isulat mathematically. Okay, so that's it. Maraming salamat sa panonood. Sana marami kayo natutunan dyan. And kung sa tingin ninyo ay worth it ito, no? Hit nyo yung like button and then comment kayo sa ating comment section kung nasagutan nyo na yung aking pinapagawang assessment. Tingnan natin kung tama ang inyong mga sagot and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel para mas updated kayo sa mga tutorial ni Sir Jolan regarding mathematics. Muli, stay healthy and safe. God bless us all.